I recently discussed the divestiture of the PwC Global Mobility practice to US-based private equity firm CD&R for $2.2 billion. In this brief update, I wanted to take a closer look at the likely impact on the firm, its clients, and its people. So why would PwC, unlike its Big Four competitors, decide to sell its global mobility practice? I mentioned previously that a number of factors, both within and outside of its control, probably led to this transaction. Most particularly, the changes to some government regulations driven by UK regulatory authorities around separation of audit and non-audit services delivered to clients by Big Four firms. However, there are some other important factors that I think have motivated PwC to divest its global mobility practice at this time. First and foremost in my mind, I believe it is the pressure of diminishing profitability of a largely compliant service in its current format, which in turn has been exacerbated by significant talent pressures which have arisen in the period post-COVID, particularly being felt by Big Four firms and major consulting firms. The global mobility practice has likely been deemed in that evolving environment to be non-core to the PwC business model going forward. Now, that doesn't translate to it not being seen to be valuable. It is valuable, evidenced by the significant size of the transaction. But its value to PwC in its core business is not conducive or not to the benefit of either PwC, its partners, and most particularly the PwC Global Mobility business. So what PwC have decided to do, which is understandable in the current environment, is allow the global mobility business to pursue investment opportunities in key markets and build a strategy that's more aligned to the highly agile cross-border operating environment their clients now find themselves in. It has allowed their global mobility business, I think, to respond to the marketplace demands which have slowly but surely edged away from compliance support more to strategic advisory consulting support. So what does the transaction mean for NewCo clients? Well, I think to answer that question, we first should look at how global mobility marketplace has evolved during the last 2 years, where as a result of COVID, we've seen a lot of change fast-tracked, particularly around business operating models and technology enhancements, but also around workforce demographics, with the significantly increased take-up of new workforce models such as work from anywhere, work from work from home, hybrid working models. Are we witnessing the Great Resignation, which in some circles has been quoted to be a 40% turnover of personnel across multiple industry sectors? Well, the early indicators are that perhaps we're not seeing that extent of skilled turnover. But what we are witnessing is a significant recalibration of the workforce. The key to driving economic growth is the ability for developed economies to attract talent, particularly skills which are in high demand arising from the impact of COVID-19, such as medical and information technology professionals, as well as a range of business executive roles. Global mobility will therefore play a critical role in supporting the talent attraction, talent retention and talent incentivisation for business who deploy a global workforce. In this regard, the divestiture of the PwC Global Mobility practice allows NewCo to operate in a far more agile and responsive manner to the marketplace, particularly as the market evolves and particularly as it adjusts to different priorities and pressures in different geographies around the world. Moving to the third and one of the most challenging elements of the PwC divestiture of its global mobility practice is, what does this mean for its people? Well, as I mentioned earlier, diminishing profitability has driven innovation in technology and business operating models. I think what we're likely to see in NewCo is a fairly quick shift to higher value consulting services in key existing and emerging hubs. And that will be in response to very strong demand for more strategic talent advisory services. And secondly, a diminishing value from clients of the traditional transactional tax, immigration, compliance offerings, which will, I think, shift to either being delivered largely by technology, process automation, or low-cost delivery centres. I think, therefore, NewCo will likely become an incubator for advisory talent, which will deliver to it a very significant differentiation from its competitors, unless its competitors are able to apply a similar pivot and consequential investment to their existing operating models. I think, frankly, many of those competitors are going to struggle to do that. I think that will in turn deliver to NewCo and its workforce, its new workforce, a highly collaborative and agile work team environment. And that will in fact act as a very attractive talent attraction and retention tool. Because I think that most cross-border talent are looking for a level of interaction with their clients and their colleagues which is far more collaborative, creative, and focused around almost co-designing the global mobility environment of the future with their clients than the operating models of the past have been able to deliver to them. So in that regard, NewCo will be able to say that its people will truly be its greatest advantage. And I think that is coincidentally one of the most compelling reasons why there's been so much enthusiasm and excitement around what a transaction of this size and scale will deliver to the global mobility business, the global mobility industry, and clients seeking to source global mobility support in a very changeable and changing cross-border operating environment. So in conclusion, I think it's important to highlight that the divestiture of the PwC Global Mobility practice and the formation of NewCo in whatever format that takes won't just impact the Big Four firms. Certainly the Big Four firms will need to adjust or pivot their service delivery to respond to a highly volatile operating environment for their clients. And a significant disruption to their clients' workforce and workplace delivery systems. I believe, however, the biggest impacts are likely to be felt by US-based compliance, largely compliance firms, including those that deliver immigration services, legal services, or taxation services. The risk for these firms is that they'll not evolve their business delivery model quickly enough. They'll look to revert to their pre-COVID, largely compliance-driven operating model, and as a consequence, may become less relevant to the complex, evolving needs of their clients. So those firms have some very careful thinking to apply to their existing business models and whether they remain fit for purpose for the future.